the final time in 2015, they do battle, every one of them seeking a holiday gift of a rise in the polls, or at the very least, a chance to get back in the game. Fitting indeed, the Republican debate is in Las Vegas, because when the final hand is dealt tonight, some will realize they have asked for one card too many. Others may have to come to grips with a card shark who hasn't been afraid to double down because he seems to win every single time. Welcome to this Newsmax Network special. I'm Ed Berliner, host of The Hardline, weeknights. Let's pass the shoe around. Let's go ahead and start dealing. Joined here in our national network studios by the man who knows every nook and cranny inside the Beltway from his years serving America there, now host of Newsmax Prime Weeknights, J.D. Hayworth. And from our New York City studios, documentary filmmaker and conservative political commentator, set to begin his own program here on the network beginning in January, Dennis Michael Lynch. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. Let's go ahead and get right to work. J.D., we have seen some feisty moments thus far. This was one where Donald Trump maybe had to lay back a little bit. Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz had to come out firing here, and Jeb Bush had to try and save his campaign. What's your first take?
Well, Ed, perhaps because the world is a messy place, tonight's debate was by and large a mess. CNN, in terms of being the house dealer, to continue your card shark analogy, overtones of the snarkiness we saw from CNBC and John Harwood, Wolf Blitzer stepping back a little bit, but still offering questions in the worldview of the left. I did think it was interesting that you saw the dynamic of the two young Hispanic senators, Cruz and Rubio, going head to head, and then a renewal of that fight between Jeb Bush and Donald Trump. By and large, others on the stage picked their spots, and there were spots, both for Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey and for Carly Fiorina. But again, it was a situation with a lot of people on stage, a network moderator intent on sharing his worldview, and overall a rambunctious and perhaps a messy performance depicting the world as it is today under Barack Obama, which is a genuine mess.
That's the way it's supposed to be sometimes, a mess in a casino. All right, Dennis, to you. First take, what did you see?
I think that Newsmax should be hosting the debates, to be quite honest with you. I think the American people, I know myself as, if I just put myself into the voter category, I'm tired of seeing this. I'm tired of seeing CNN and the other networks just trying to champion for ratings. That being put aside, I am surprised to see how strong Chris Christie looked tonight. He looked strong. I was also surprised. I thought that Ted Cruz was on his heels at many times, and I think that's because him and Rubio are basically punching at each other as hard as they possibly can, because neither one of them thinks that Trump is going to remain standing. And I have to disagree on that. I think what Trump had to do tonight is exactly what he did. I think he had to be careful and cautious in terms of not coming off as too loosey-goosey. I think he had to look presidential. I think he did look presidential in his opening statement. There were some times he got a little weak with the internet stuff that they were talking about. But overall, I don't think you're going to see him dip at all. I think you're going to see him rise tomorrow. All
right, let's get to a couple of these sound bites you want to hear. First of all, let's get to one of the guys we talked about, Marco Rubio. He and Rand Paul back and forth on the USA Freedom Act, which Rubio says restricts the ability for government agencies to track terrorists. And here was the discourse.
Marco can't have it both ways. He thinks he wants to be this, oh, I'm great and strong on national defense, but he's the weakest of all the candidates on immigration. He is the one for an open border that is leaving us defenseless. If we want to defend the country, we have to defend against who's are coming in. And Marco has more of an allegiance to Chuck Schumer and to the liberals than he does to conservative policy.
Gentlemen, I want you to hear then, following up on this, Governor Chris Christie, where he took some time in answering his questions, basically saying, and I thought he had a good point, where he said, look, people are tired of hearing senators just haggle over bills constantly and talk about these minutiae here because they can't make decisions. I thought this was a pretty good response from Christie. Here it is.
If your eyes are glazing over like mine, this is what it's like to be on the floor of the United States Senate. I mean, endless debates about how many angels on the head of a pin from people who've never had to make a consequential decision in an executive position. The fact is, for 7 years, I had to make these decisions after 9/11. Make a decision about how to proceed forward with an investigation or how to pull back, whether to use certain actionable intelligence or whether not to. And yet they continue to debate about this bill and in the subcommittee and what. Nobody in America cares about that.
JD, I'll tell you what, the one thing I love about Chris Christie is he looks right in the eye of people. He's got that, and it's only probably because I'm from the Northeast. I'm from New York. I live there. It's that straightforward attitude that he has. He needed to come out tonight swinging. I thought he did a pretty good job.
Well, let's understand, too, Ed, that you're a broadcaster and you know to look right in the camera. That's what Christie did tonight. He looked in the camera, and he also expressed a disdain for Washington. So Chris involved in some political jiu-jitsu. Never mind the fact he's basically an open borders candidate. Tonight, he was less a governor of New Jersey who embraced Barack Obama infamously during Superstorm Sandy, and tonight he was that dynamic prosecutor that Tom Dewey was in the 1940s in New York, except he was across the state line in New Jersey. Is it effective? Sure. I think back to 1996 when, before he was a U.S. Senator, Lamar Smith campaigned against Washington saying, cut their pay and send them home. And so Christie rhetorically cut the Senate down to size, but I don't know tonight if he sealed the deal. But again, it is based on snapshots, on performance, on sound bites. Christie is an effective guy when you don't examine his record in total.
Well, but his record in total, certainly, and there's a lot of records in total here from every single person standing on that stage tonight that you can question over and over again. They all have their dark sides. Dennis, what did you think then about Christie coming out? Did he do enough actually to get back in the fray?
Well, yeah, I think that you're going to see Chris Christie get a small pop, but at the end of the day, they're all chasing Donald Trump. And what I did is, look, I travel the country of making my films, giving speeches, I talk to people, and there's one recurring theme that comes over and over again. America is so thirsty for leadership. And so what I saw in Chris Christie tonight and Donald Trump was leadership. I saw a CEO and I saw a governor. I saw an executive. What I saw in Rubio and Cruz were two talented guys who look like the two brothers fighting, and the two fathers are sitting there and saying, here go the boys again. I didn't get the whole leadership feel. That's what Christie conveyed tonight, and I think that's the same thing you saw from Trump. And then when you take a look at all of this collectively, Ed, I mean, at the end of the day, tonight was about immigration, whether you want to talk about refugees, visas, or the border. And when it comes to immigration, Marco Rubio is completely weak, and Donald Trump is saying the things that people want to hear. And I think for as long as he does that, he is almost untouchable.
All right, now let's go ahead and remind everybody that we're going to talk about Donald Trump. Look, we didn't forget him. He still happens to lead the polls by a big number here. So Donald Trump was talking about the internet, terrorists, and all the rest. We're going to get to that in just a moment here. So gentlemen, hang tight, because we're going to go ahead and go one more place, because we're going to shift right now to Newsmax contributor Miranda Kahn. She's in the newsroom. This tells our global viewers and how they can become part of this game tonight. Miranda, it's to you.
All right, thanks, Ed. Yeah, you watch the candidates as they try to state their case and let you know why they should be the nominee for president. Now it's time to tell us what you think, and you can let us know by casting your vote. Simply head on over to newsmaxpolls.com and let us know which Republican candidate you thought won tonight's GOP debate. We'll keep you updated on the results throughout the night. Voting also isn't the only way to have your voice heard. You can also leave us a video message by going to newsmaxusa.com. There you can tell us your favorite highlight of the night, who you see leading this country, or maybe tell us who you feel is best equipped to take on ISIS and keep our country safe and who isn't. Whatever it is, we want to hear from you. You can also reach out to us on Facebook and Twitter. Tweet us at Newsmax TV. Use the hashtag GOP Debate, and we'll air your comments throughout the night. Before we send it back over to you, Ed, we also want to give you an update on that threat that was made on the Los Angeles School District. Take a listen. Okay, the update on that, as you know, schools were closed in Los Angeles today. That threat was determined to be a hoax. We have just received word that school will be reopened tomorrow. We'll give you more details later on. Back to you, Ed.
All right, Miranda, thanks so much. We'll check back in. Still